and came from the same country she did. Now, Park, for her part, addressed this shift in her memoir by saying that she just didn't want to talk about hardships she went through during her childhood on South Korean TV because she no longer even thought about it. She also has previously claimed that some discrepancies in her early interviews in America can be chalked up to the fact that she wasn't fluent in English. But a lot of people say, even with that, there are a lot of things that just don't add up. With the Post again, for example, pointing to a 2014 article published by The Diplomat by Mary Ann Jolly, a journalist who had interviewed Park for a documentary and who pointed out numerous discrepancies with her claims. Right, according to Jolly, while Park told The Diplomat that both her and her sister were left to protect themselves at 9 and 11 years old when their parents were jailed, saying we couldn't go to school, we just go down to the riverside and we can shower and wash our clothes there, and then we go to the mountains and get the grass to eat, adding that she ate wild foods like grass or sometimes dragonflies, just anything I could eat at that time. But on a previous interview with BBC Radio, she had said that when her parents were imprisoned, her sister lived at her uncle's house while Park herself was sent to live at her aunt's house in the countryside for 3 years. And when asked about the hardship she experienced during another interview around the same time, she made zero mention of grass and dragonflies, instead saying she could afford 2 meals, but also comparing that to people who lived on the streets and, quote, eat everything, and even going as far as to assert that her hardships were nothing comparatively. And that also seemingly backed up by her mom during her On My Way to Meet You appearance. And another key thing there, the host of the show even noting that when people talked about struggling to eat or eating grass, Park would say, oh, that never happened, and asked her mother why that was, to which she responded, we were not to that extent. We were just never in a position where we were starving. Park has also made numerous claims about executions in North Korea that have been questioned and even directly refuted. Or she previously said she saw her friend's mother executed in a stadium for watching a Hollywood movie. Sometimes when she told the story, she said it was a South Korean DVD, not a Hollywood movie. But also beyond that discrepancy, other defectors even told The Diplomat that not only were there never executions in the stadium that she was talking about, there weren't even any executions happening in the city that she lived in during that time period she described. With one woman who defected from the same city as Park a few years after telling The Diplomat, how can you be executed for watching an American film? It sounds ridiculous even saying it. That has never happened before. Other defectors also confirming that, as did Andrei Lenkov, who is one of the leading authorities on North Korea, having studied there in the 80s, taken multiple research trips, and interviewed hundreds of defectors. And while both he and the other defectors said that people could go to jail for watching Western movies, they wouldn't be executed. Lenkov telling the outlet that the kinds of crimes that usually result in public executions are murder, large-scale theft, especially of the government property, sometimes involvement with large-scale smuggling operations, including human trafficking. And that's also not Park's only account of executions that Lenkov has disputed. Right, as recently as 2021, she went on Joe Rogan's podcast where she made more claims about public executions.
And what are the crimes that you could be sentenced to death for?
Is as little as, so in North Korea, every room has to have a portrait of Kims. And the inspector comes out of nowhere in the middle of the night and then touch the portraits. If they see any dust, they say your royalty is not high enough. And then you can get executed and sent to prison camp 3 generations of your family.
But Lenkov told the Post that this is a distortion of something that happens in North Korea, where citizens are forced to have self-criticism sessions where they confess failings. And sometimes, due to pressure, they resort to sharing minor offenses that will let them off with minor punishments, like not properly maintaining their shrine to the Kims. But he said Park is seriously exaggerating, and her description would be the equivalent of telling North Koreans that Americans can be executed for a speeding ticket. And there are also other smaller claims too, like Park's repeated claims that North Koreans don't have maps of the world and that they don't have to learn simple math like 1 + 1 = 2. But Lenkov noting that pictures of elementary school textbooks prove that's just not true. And Park's seemingly false stories have now gone beyond just North Korea and veered into hot-button issues in America. Or for example, during her interview with Rogan, Park claimed that she got punched and robbed by 3 black women during the George Floyd protests in 2020 when she was in Chicago.
I was trying to catch and call the police, and these people on the street, the bystanders, the white people, calling me I'm a racist, telling me that the color of skin doesn't make them a thief. And I became...
Wait a minute. So you got robbed by these 3 black women.
And I got punched.
You got punched and robbed.
So violence, yeah.
And so you called the police, and who...
I tried to call them, and they prevent me not calling the police.
Who was trying to tell you not to call the police?
It's all the people on the street,
that
on the
watched
Michigan
it?
Avenue, yeah.
People that saw the crime?
Yeah.
With her going on to say the police later got footage of the 3 black women because they used her credit card, and adding,
of course, they're not going to prosecute these girls, right? There's so much crime in Chicago. They're not going to prosecute somebody who robs. And that's when I was thinking, this country lost it.
But according to a Chicago police statement obtained by the Daily Mail, Park wasn't robbed by 3 women, but rather a woman and a man, which is arguably a weird thing to change. And also the female suspect was prosecuted, being charged with the crime, pleading guilty, and serving 2 years in prison, with even Park herself acknowledging that the female robber was prosecuted in her most recent book. And understand, everything that we're talking about, I don't even want to call it a greatest hits or a highlight reel. These are just some of the things in a much bigger situation. And so if you want to dive deeper, I'll link to articles down below. But you have this all-around bizarre situation, and you have people going, well, why do do this? But well, there, the answer would be like it is for most stories, clout and or money. There's a lot of direct and indirect money to be made with engagements and ongoing work with right-wing groups. Obviously, as her star rises and she goes on these shows and they're clipped and more people find out about her, more people are more inclined to, buy her book and things like that. But also you get examples like direct payments, where they're telling reporters she made $6,600 a month working with conservative group Turning Points USA, and that was just one engagement. There's also a thing that I want to mention. I do not want anything in this to seem like I am pro-North Korea. Fuck the Kims, those murderous monsters. But my feelings need to be based in reality. And that's also where you have experts saying that spreading false or exaggerated claims about North Korea not only undermines the real stories of other defectors, but it also hurts the actual people who live there under the regime because it overshadows actual concerns about human rights in the country. With another expert saying she basically just acts as a mirror for conservative audiences to look into and having all their fears about liberals turning America into an authoritarian hellhole reflected right back at them. And those are actually all points that have been repeatedly made by people like Hassan Piker, a political commentator, who also notably talked about Park a number of times over the last few years, with him continually calling her a grifter, saying that while there is a market in America for North Korean defectors who want to share their real traumatic experiences in an oppressive country, Park takes it to a whole other level.
There are plenty of very real harrowing realities from North Korea, obviously. So there's truth to it as well. But you get bored after a while of hearing the same shit. So what she does instead that I think is like pretty smart is she'll turn around and basically say like, in America is just like North Korea because of liberals.
It literally minimizes the experiences that people living under the brutal regime, the brutal Kim Jong-un regime, this person is literally a grifter. There are a lot of defectors that do this. Props to them. They escaped. And now they want to make money. And there is a massive audience of fucking idiots that are like, hell yeah, brother. In North Korea, you're right, brother. They're just fucking, it's the worst place. They all want to kill us. They all want to murder us, brother. Yeah, yeah. Like, we should glass North Korea. And this is all that this is to just like give people that fuel to feel that way.
But with all that's been said and shared, I now gotta pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then, switching gears, last week I was telling y'all how HelloFresh quick and easy meals have been a lifesaver countless times for me. But with that, I forgot to tell you how great these quick and easy meals taste. So thank you, HelloFresh, not only for sponsoring today's show, but I guess also for existing. Weekends can get hectic, but you gotta eat. And not only was the mozzarella crusted chicken with blistered tomatoes and potato wedges a hit with all of us, it didn't steal time from our Saturday. Because HelloFresh wants you to have it all, free time and fresh, tasty food. They take care of the meal planning and deliver the ingredients, so everything you need to whip up a delicious meal arrives right to your door. And HelloFresh's menu features calorie-smart and protein-smart options, plus new vegan dinners to choose from. You having people over? They've got crowd-pleasing treats, from a backyard bratwurst bar to tangy key lime pie. HelloFresh Market makes summer entertaining a cinch. And it's also not just meals. They offer snacks and sides, too. And did I mention HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and most takeout? So y'all, go to HelloFresh.com/DeFranco50 and use code DeFranco50 for 50% off plus free shipping. That's right, I'm serious. HelloFresh.com/DeFranco50 and code DeFranco50 gets you 50% off plus free shipping. It is honestly a no-brainer. So go try America's #1 meal kit today. And then, now nearly 4 years after everything went down, we're still learning more dirty details about the U.S. raid on the Syrian compound of ISIS founder Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Right, you might remember in the announcement of Baghdadi's death, Trump and his military presented the operation as this flawless, outstanding victory.
He died after running into a dead-end tunnel, whimpering and crying and screaming all the way. He died like a dog.
But subsequent reporting and Pentagon documents obtained by NPR show that the operation probably wasn't as clean as he'd like to admit. Or while the president watched the raid unfold from thousands of miles away, a Syrian man by the name of Barakat Ahmad Barakat was enjoying what he thought was a normal night. With him telling NPR he and two of his friends were working as agricultural laborers at an olive press. They were driving him home. A claim that's also been backed up by a nonprofit that has receipts showing Barakat was transporting olives to an olive press in the days leading up to this one, as well as 7 relatives of the friends who said the two men operated a van service and had no connection to any armed group. And so they happened to take the shortest route to Barakat's village, which leads them through a neighboring village on the way. With him saying, we had pumpkin seeds and brought coffee on the road and were having fun. But they had no idea Baghdadi was hiding in a compound up the road, nor that the U.S. Special Forces were in the middle of a raid on that compound. So when a missile suddenly strikes their van, they're startled, with Barakat saying there was nothing suspicious at all. There was nothing ahead of us on the road. Suddenly I felt something hit us. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to escape death. And so they rush out of the van. They begin to flee, but one of the friends falls with his leg filled with shrapnel. Barakat then takes the other wounded friend in his arms. He has this emotional final moment with him recalling, he told me I am dying. I told him, no, just say God's name. And I held him in my lap. And then as he's cradling this man, another airstrike lands, killing both friends. So Barakat Arcot runs for cover and he survives, but his right and left hand have been badly injured, with him later getting surgery to remove shrapnel from his left arm and partially amputate his right. But according to one advocacy group, he can no longer afford physical therapy sessions, and his injuries prevent him from working to feed his 5 young children. And him saying, "We're farmers. I make less than $1 a day. Now I'm handicapped and my 2 friends are in their graves." Now, after that raid, the U.S. military took responsibility for the attack, but claimed